Hey guys, welcome back to the Suzuki Dual Sport build. In this episode, I want to get the dash cluster mounted along with some brake lights and turn signals on the rear. There's a few other odds and ends I still got to do to this bike, so stay tuned. Alright, so coming back up here to the front of the bike, I think I'm going to mount this cluster right to the headlight bucket. Something like that, somewhere in there. Alright, so this cluster, it has these 3 tabs, and this is its mounting point, and I'm just going to go ahead and assume that there was like a rubber pad. My problem is these 3 little pieces of plastic I do not believe are going to be strong enough for all the abuse that this thing's probably going to see. So what I am going to do is I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to use these parts here and probably run bolts through. Let's see what's inside this thing. Alright, so I got some hardware here. I'm going to use these Allen cap screws, but they're a little too long here, so I could just grind these down, but I'm just going to chuck them in the lathe, that way it's nice and straight. No sending it back now. Alright, so I had to shorten these quite a bit. This one here a bit, but I had to make them fit up underneath there. So these 2 other on this side, I kind of had to shorten that plastic boss down a little bit more to get that to clear, but it does clear now. I'm going to Loctite these screws in. Well, that was a complete fail. The Loctite dissolved this plastic. Who would have known? So I'm going to have to go to plan B here. Well, the upside is there's plenty of clearance in here now. I just spun some nuts on the back. The downside is I wasted some time screwing around with this, but got some strong mounts on here now. Well, there's that. Alright, so a piece of poster board here. I'm going to try to make an impression of these screws and get a template. Alright, so these screws here are parallel with the unit, so I'm going to use that to mark a straight line on here. These should be on the same plane as each other. I'm going to mark down here too, 1 3/8. They're pretty much the same. This side's down just a little bit. Okay, there's my 2 parallel lines. Well, I'll tell you what, before I do that, now I'm just going to come up, half an inch below a half an inch. So I cut those down. I'm just going to come in here with a hole punch and mark my holes. Okay, I need to make clearance for this. So now I can cut that out. Okay, so there's that much of the template. So this is basically what my bracket's going to look like, but it's going to have some bends in it and like a flange to bolt to the headlight bucket. Alright, so this is what I ended up with. Something like that. I'm going to transfer this onto some sheet metal. Alright, here it is, made out of metal. I'll get this thing bent and then see if we can't make some marks on that headlight bucket to put these holes in. Alright, I got the gauge cluster mounted up here. See my bracket back here. I think I got a pretty good view of it there. Alright, this is the speed sensor. It's a Hall effect. It looks like it's got a little LED in it. That probably lights every time the magnets go by. To mount this to the front fork, it's very small area that I got to mount this in. I made this bracket here. Alright, so I got this whole mess to deal with. This is going to be fun. The sheet that it come with, not all the wire colors are correct on this, and the pinout is not right, so it's going to be a bit of a trial and error kind of a situation. But don't worry, I'll get it one at a time till they're all done. I'm going to pull the gas tank off here and see what I can do about the clearance issue that I have here. Maybe I can roll that edge down or something. Well, that escalated quickly. But I tell you what, it's not hitting the tank no more, and I got a lot more steering angle. Alright, I got the rear tail lights and turn signals mounted on here. This is the assembly that I went with. Got everything wired up. Now what I need to do is figure out a way to attach the wire to the inside of the fender. Alright, so what I did is I took some of this plastic fender and welded a couple little tabs in here so I can get some zip ties around those and zip tie that down. So I'm going to make a bracket for the license plate. Just going to hold this in with some rivets. Alright, so it's been a few weeks since the last video clip there. I got this all mounted on the bike. Everything's working well. I got this mounted on here. It's all plugged in. Okay, so I've been riding around. One thing I noticed is that the wheel clamps, the rim locks, whatever the bead locks, whatever you call those in these tires, they're throwing the wheels way out of balance. So that issue is going to have to be addressed. The gearings is way too short, so I'm going to have to buy some sprockets. They're on their way. What else we got? So underneath here, these pipes don't come all the way together where I had to separate them a little bit. So I'm going to try to address this exhaust leak right here. I think that's what I'm going to do next. I'm just going to cut a little bit off of this and add that. Alright, now I got that exhaust all patched up. Sounds much better. Alright, so let's try. Yep, I got a horn. There's left turn. Yep. I'll try a right turn. Alright. Let's see, tail light. Alright. Rear brake. See if we can do this. Front brake. Headlight high and low. Yep, it all works. Alright, so that's about all I'm going to have time for on the project today. So on the upcoming episodes, I'm going to be swapping out the sprockets. I'm going to try to bring my RPMs down. At 55, I'm doing like 67. That's just screaming. So I'm going to bring that down. I got to rebuild the front forks. I got to rebuild that shock. What else I got to do? I got to go through finish welding everything. I got to paint. I got to do some body filler in here. So there's still some work left on this project. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching.